What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the SovereignPreneur Show. I'm Michael Ruiz, and today we have two special guests in the house. Chris and Frieda, welcome. Thank you for being here. And to start it off, what are you guys doing here in El Salvador?
Thanks for having us. I'll kick this off to Frieda this time.
Sure. So we are currently organizing the Max and Stacy Invitational, which is going to be a spectacular 2-day event this week on Friday, January 10th and 11th. And it's going to be happening at El Encanto Country Club. There's going to be golfing. There's going to be live entertainment on stage. There's going to be lots of Bitcoiners mingling. And then there's also going to be a Bitcoin Beach meetup, which is going to be amazing on Friday. And we have around 300 people attending. And it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yep, a lot of special guests, a lot of people we don't even know that Max and Stacy know that are coming, that are too secretive to even tell us who's going to be there. So we're really excited to be doing a live stream there as well to release a lot of special announcements in the Bitcoin ecosystem at our event.
Wow, that's incredible. So Bitcoin Sports Network, right?
Yeah.
And is this your first event here in El Salvador?
First official event in El Salvador as Bitcoin Sports Network. That's correct. Yes.
Wow, awesome. And well, how did you guys get started?
It all started with golf, basically, a passion for golf and a passion for Bitcoin. And after the Miami conference in 2023, I found out that in Nashville, the 2024 conference was going to take place. So I put a post out on X and said, hey, does anybody want to play golf while you're here? And the post went viral. And so I figured, okay, there's a lot of demand for a golf tournament and nobody's done it before. So who better than a guy who loves golf to put on a golf tournament the way that I would want a golf tournament to be and that I would want to participate in. So I went to work. I had 12 months to put it together and went about contacting all of my friends in the Bitcoin ecosystem and getting a lot of contacts with Bitcoin companies. And over the course of 12 months and meeting new people and new relationships, we ended up putting on a spectacular golf tournament called the Samara Bitcoin Golf Championship. That'll be the first annual. So we're doing another one in Vegas because the feedback from the event was so great. Now Bitcoin conferences in the United States and golf tournaments are kind of going to go hand in hand.
Wow, awesome. And is that kind of like the origins of Bitcoin Sports Network too? You're like, well, if we're going to be doing more of these.
I think I think that's, it started with both of our passion over the years for Bitcoin education. Like when we both found Bitcoin, we were just like passionate about telling others. And like, how do you do that in a nice way where people are not just like, oh, you're trying to sell me something, right? And so we've been thinking about this and brainstorming more and more. And we naturally love sports, both of us. I mean, I'm not a great golfer at all, but I have others, like I do CrossFit, I love running. And so we were just kind of brainstorming, how do we bring things together that are our passion? And when we got the feedback from this golf event that Chris put on, and really he put it on, I would just happen to be the photographer at that event, like amateur, taking some pictures. Now we have you guys for this event, so this is going to be pro coverage. But yeah, no, so that's kind of where it started, a passion for Bitcoin education. And like, what better place to educate on Bitcoin than to get people in a spot where they are naturally wanting to be. Like they want to come and play golf. They want to play pickleball. They want to come surf, right? And they're going to go with that buddy that might already be orange pilled. And then throughout the event, there's some orange pilling happening. And I think, it's the Bitcoin community is just an amazing community, It's just,
as you mentioned that, I'm realizing that the last two Bitcoin events that I've been to are big Bitcoin events. They felt more festivative. I don't even know if that's a word, but more festive.
Yes.
There you go. There was the having party, which was at a resort. And then there was adopting Bitcoin, which kind of had the whole farmer's market feel, kind of felt like you were at a festival, not at a conference. And, I kind of like the merger of lifestyle and Bitcoin as opposed to the whole corporate feel of events and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that in terms of like, bringing golf and Bitcoin together, I think you guys got something there.
Yeah, with sports, it's really a proof of work sort of, a culmination of all the hard work, all the effort, all the tears, all the joy, everything that comes in sports really comes along the lines in Bitcoin as well, with the volatility of the asset and learning about why you're in Bitcoin when Bitcoin price drops, and, you know, buying the dip, and, you know, you get Bitcoin at the price you deserve. And there's all these sayings that we have in the community, and there's a lot of sayings in sports as well. So we figured, you know, what a better way to kind of merge the idea of proof of work than using sports as a platform to really help bring people into the Bitcoin community that might not otherwise be interested in it. But now that sports are an aspect of it, everybody loves sports. Doesn't matter what sport it is. You know, everybody in some form has a sport that they naturally gravitate to. And so we wanted to be able to use that as, like Frieda was saying, as a teaching tool to bring people this inclusive nature that Bitcoin has into our ecosystem and help give them those touch points that they need in order to better understand Bitcoin. Because we all have that sort of 3 touch point kind of magic number before we start taking a harder look at Bitcoin. And so we wanted to give them opportunity and excuses to be more open to Bitcoin.
You know, that's really interesting. One of the things that we run into here are a lot of people who are here and they're not necessarily Bitcoiners, right? They're just here because they like El Salvador, or they like the policies that Bukele has, or for some reason they're here. And they, you know, when they interact with the Bitcoin crowd, they have a good time, and they're like, man, these Bitcoiners, like every time I'm around them, they're optimistic, they're happy. And so, you know, talking about touch points, like I'm sure it also helps that, you know, the touch point that they have is in a good setting, you know, people, good vibes, people are happy and people are doing stuff. And like you said, there's proof of work aspect tied to it. So yeah, you know, it's these are good social touch points to like bring people into the fold as well. They're like also
Absolutely.
realize that Bitcoiners aren't that weird.
Yeah.
And they're actually fun.
And then I think it's also, you know, it's about the general public to get it. It's also to expose like existent businesses that operate on Bitcoin, right? So it's like you get these guides, you get this, you get that. Like, so we have an opportunity to highlight some of the vendors, right? So for example, we have these amazing handmade winners jackets, like true proof of work, the orange winners jacket. There's 2 of them and only 2 in the world right now. And we had those exclusively made for this particular tournament as the winning jackets. And I just love art. I love artists. I love how art brings people together and connects, you know. And then obviously we have like fiat art with like the banana on the wall. And then we have, you know, really good detailed artists that are still making an effort. And to be able to highlight those folks, we also have a watchmaker, Vigilante Watches.
I saw those watches.
Coin Vigilante. Yeah. So, and they're making custom watches for the tournament for first, second, and third place. Each one is original. There'll only be 6 of these watches made in the entire world. You know, so one of the things that we love about this inclusive ecosystem that Bitcoin brings, like Frieda was talking about, with the different people out there that are artists and manufacturers, and they want to be more in the Bitcoin ecosystem, to give them an opportunity to really highlight their proof of work and this exceptional products that they're making. You know, like these jackets that Frieda was talking about, inside of them is this beautiful El Salvadorian inspired mural that's printed on a silk lining that is basically wearable art. So not only is it a wearable trophy as kind of like a master's jacket, but in the Bitcoin community, it's the Bitcoin proof of work orange jacket that's made out of wool and cashmere and has a thread that's spun out of gold line and gold encrusted buttons and all these other things. You really get the sense of the excellence that went into making these things, and they're completely original. There'll only ever be 2 of these jackets ever made. So not only are they this beautiful piece of wearable art, but they're also a collector's item for anybody who's interested in Bitcoin.
Yeah, and big shout out for those to 21 Million Fashion who has created those for us. And I'll also point out, you know, when people hear about the jackets and us talking about them, they might think like, oh, this is like an uber exclusive club, I will never get in. That is not true. So I think Bitcoin Sports Network, as a mission, when we established the company, we always said that tickets are going to be affordable to anyone, right? So like if you're in a situation or whatever, you know, reach out. But generally, like we want to make it at an affordable price where like an everyday person, an everyday Bitcoiner, you know, from us like years and years and years ago, you know, when we didn't make any money as college students, like we would have been able to afford to get in. And so, you know, I think for this event, for example, we could have charged
a lot
more. You know, it was interesting when we opened up the player tickets, you know, they were sold out in 32 minutes. And this is 92 tickets we're talking, right? And so obviously the demand was there. And I think there's a fine line, being a Bitcoin business in the very fiat world to say, where are our values? I mean, really the values of the Bitcoin community drove me here. And I love it when I come in touch with Bitcoiners that say, I'm not going to compromise on this. This is my business. This is how I have to do it, And so, for example, when we were working with Abu on the jackets of 21 Million Fashion, there were some points where he was like, I am not doing it cheaper. Like, I'm not taking this cheap button. This has to be this, right?
Yeah.
And so I do appreciate that, because apparently like that raises the standard in the community again. It kind of brings back, excellence only, as Stacy always likes to say. And that's really what then brings together people bringing their best to the table and, feeling like they're part of and worthy. And I just, creating this event has been so much fun.
We very much share that kind of, that vision, that idea for what, business could be. It's one of the reasons why we're here in El Salvador, because we realized if we're here, we're going to be able to really like help out and interact with, Bitcoiners and just people that operate on a lower time preference that really take pride in the work that they do. And so, yeah, it's one of the reasons why we're here too. So I totally get that. Awesome. I'm curious. Is this a full-time thing that you guys are doing, or what were you doing before this? What's your background? I'm curious.
Yeah, so my background is in sales and in finance. I've basically sold anything you can think of over the course of my 22 years in sales. So I kind of think of myself as a professional salesman, but also a lover of sports and a lover of just, like that excellence that you were talking about, and really trying to be the best that I can be as often as I can be it, And we found that is kind of what the Bitcoin community loves and is attracted to. And so, we talk about the jackets, we talk about the watches, we talk about the prizes. This is really kind of a call out to anybody who's in the Bitcoin community that has a product that you make that you feel is just like you're putting your excellence and you're putting your signature, your proof of work, your time and effort into it. Like, reach out to us. We want to know who you are. We want to help you get your brand out to the Bitcoin community and help bring you more into, up the line of
the ecosystem,
the ecosystem, and really help you excel in this community. Because Bitcoin is kind of like the wild, wild west. People think to themselves, oh, I'm a Bitcoiner. Oh, I have some Bitcoin, but I really want to I want to work in Bitcoin. I want to spend my time in Bitcoin. I want to meet more people in Bitcoin, but I work at a grocery store, or I'm a sales clerk, or I'm a secretary, or whatever. And Bitcoin needs so many people just like you. Like, if there's something in Bitcoin that you want to do, you have an opportunity to do it, because Bitcoin is young and it needs so much. It needs everything. So if you step your foot into the pool and you say, this is my flag, this is what I'm doing here, I guarantee people will come to you. And because you're involved in Bitcoin, we're more likely to use you, because we understand your value proposition and aligns more with what the world that we see, and we want the world to go in that direction.
Yeah, well, nicely said. And it's one of the things that you said there is accurate, especially from our end. Working with Bitcoiners, just because when you're operating with someone who's kind of understands the Bitcoin ethos, that over 50% of your values align at some deep fundamental level. And so to work with someone like that is a much better situation than to work with someone with like a fiat mindset, So now I'm curious, how did you hook up with Max and Stacy and decide to do a tournament here in El Salvador?
Yeah, so 3 guys from Unchained, Trey Sellers, Rocky Wand, and Joe Burnett got together and they wrote an article about the relationship between golf and Bitcoin. And it was picked up by Bitcoin Magazine. And Max read the article and reached out to Trey and said, hey, I just have a property at El Encanto in El Salvador, which has a golf course, and I'd like to do a golf tournament. Can you help me? And Trey and Rocky had just finished playing in our Bitcoin Golf Championship in Nashville. And they said, well, it's not really kind of our business, but we know somebody who can help you. And so they recommended Bitcoin Sports Network to them, and Max reached out to us. And Max is my orange pill. Max and Stacy, I've listened to them for years. And we wrote a book years ago called Bitcoin for Kiddos that was actually dedicated to Max and Stacy.
Wow.
And so next thing I know, I'm on a WhatsApp chat with, one of my idols in the Bitcoin space. And he's like, can you help me do a golf tournament? And I did some quick math and did some quick searching, and I found out flights to El Salvador are really affordable. And I was like, I'll see you next week. And he's like, you're coming to El Salvador next week. I said, I'll see you next week. Hopped on a plane, went down and visited them for a couple of days. And we kind of put together an idea on what kind of tournament we wanted to create. And, from there, the tournament was born, and we went to work putting all the pieces together to make it happen.
Wow. Awesome. I love that, you jumped at the opportunity. Like that's something that, I've had to do as well, but and especially here in El Salvador, it seems to just be plentiful, but yeah, man, you didn't waste any time. The opportunity came up and you went for it, and now you're here. What are the challenges? Like I could imagine where are you guys located again?
We're in Nashville.
Nashville, right?
Yeah.
And so you're putting on a tournament in El Salvador, an event, a huge event, multiple events, actually, when you think about it.
Yeah.
And what's that been like? Has that been challenging? Has that been hard?
Yeah. So I will say, Chris and I have known each other for ages, right? We're high school sweethearts. And so it's interesting with this journey. We feel like we've been through all the hurdles already. We were born for this at this point, we've started several businesses in the past. We had the clashes here and there, we had to figure things out on how do we work together. And so when this opportunity came along, I am in the details, and I am definitely an organizer. And
you have a project management background. You haven't talked about your product management. I always mix them up. It's like psychiatrist, psychologist. I never know which is which.
Yeah, so I have years and years in the technology space as a product manager. And so, I'm managing, teams and multiple things at once, and just everybody bombarding you from all sides. And so applying myself here was pretty straightforward. For me, it was actually oh, this is easy because it's fun, And so have there been hurdles? Yes. I think mostly because, we're not qualified to really be here because we don't speak Spanish, at all. And so that was the first hurdle, right? Finding people that can, obviously we can use Google Translate and things like that, but if you don't have somebody in person, then, you text somebody and then you hope an answer comes back, right? So finding vendors at the beginning was a little bit challenging that way. It was a huge weight of our shoulders when we found you, also advertising on social media. I don't think we would have found you necessarily without that, so I encourage any Bitcoin business, just throw more stuff out there. I personally don't love social media that much, but I encourage everybody to go out there and talk about what they do, because that's how we get connected these days. It's just what it is. And so I would say, yes, there's daily challenges. They don't really feel so challenging to me just because I come from a world of management. And so, I think what really helped is, Chris's sales background, my kind of behind the scenes background, always technology, if he can figure out, how something works on the website or whatever, I'll have it done in 2 seconds. If there's a relationship question that I have, I usually we advise each other behind the scenes, and we are really good at doing that at this point in our lives, which is pleasant. So, love it. Wouldn't want to work with anybody else. So
awesome. Yeah, I was impressed. I mean, we've been working here and there together for the past few months, and a husband wife team was interesting.
Yeah.
But you guys make it work, and it's awesome to see.
Yeah. Thank you.
And so, impression of El Salvador?
Well, this is my third time here. It's Frieda's second time down here. We love this country. I mean, the beach is beautiful. The water's warm. You walk right in it. The sun is strong. You can probably see I got a little bit of a sunburn today. I was out on the El Encanto golf course with the greenskeeper, setting up the course and putting up where the tee boxes are going to be and where we're going to put the holes, and working with the greens and setting up some other things and playing around a golf in between it. And I didn't wear enough suntan lotion. So if you're coming down for the tournament, bring suntan lotion and drink a lot of water.
Yep.
Yeah. We'll have drink stations on the course, so no worries. But
awesome.
yeah.
And for you, Frieda, is this your first time here?
It's my second time.
Okay.
So we originally came when El Salvador first adopted Bitcoin. That was just
2021.
It was right after Bukele locked up all the MS-13 gang members, and we wanted to get a sense of kind of where El Salvador started, and then the idea was we would come back several years later and see how it had changed. And so now we're kind of at that second touch point.
And do you see anything? Do you see changes happening?
Yeah. Change generally, really, I mean, last time we came for the first time, we're trying to pay at the beach with Bitcoin, and there's some vendors that are like, oh, okay, we know our country has adopted this, but the education wasn't there.
Yeah.
So that's like a 180, I feel. There's like a lot more people that understand, they know how to use it, right? So the adoption is really there. I think as far as change, there's also change, obviously, with like the building of homes and things like that, right? So you see that a lot. So
even this house right here, it's new. I don't think it was built when you guys first came. So
exactly.
Yeah.
So a little bit like for me personally, because I'm a nature girl, I just hope that they don't take over too much to the point of like, oh, let's commercialize everything because we can, right? So I think that's the fine line I'm talking about. Like if you're a true Bitcoiner, I think you kind of have those values in mind and in heart, and you kind of know your line. Like you know where it's good and where it's over the top. And so I haven't seen that quite yet, but I've heard through the grapevine. Maybe there's some projects. I'm not sure. Well, I don't live here, so I don't know. I don't really know. I just have hearsay. So
yeah, to that point, we talk about that a lot here on the show too. It's going to be interesting how this place develops. And one of the things that we noticed when we came here is that El Salvador is pretty much still owned by El Salvadorans in terms of like there isn't a lot of foreign presence here, not a lot of corporate hotels. I mean, hardly any, maybe in the city, right? But now El Salvador is on the map, on the international map, and they've adopted Bitcoin, and now there's all this, investment potentially coming in. And so how is this place going to develop? And I always kind of see it as a race between kind of the corporate world and Bitcoiners. Bitcoiners come here and bring their vision. And I think Bitcoiners, to kind of pull on what you were saying, I think Bitcoiners are a lot more in tune with the harmony of the world, and so what you would hope wouldn't happen here is kind of the corporate interests just take over and turn it into and take a lot of the beauty away from it.
Yeah, we've noticed some of that starting to happen down in, say, Bitcoin Beach in El Zonte. One of the things that I hope that really doesn't happen is in this new renaissance that El Salvador is going through, that the people of El Salvador aren't the ones that get left forgotten about, because they have an incredible culture. They have an incredible love and passion for one another and helping out. And if you need anything down here, whether they speak Spanish or not, they're patient, they're easy to talk to, they're easygoing. They will take time to try to communicate with you to get you what you need. But on the other side of that, you have the corporate interests that are starting to learn more about El Salvador, and people from the city are now starting to buy up the properties on the beaches. And though we're learning about the local governments and how they set up regulations and building permits and that kind of things. And sometimes regulations get changed and big buildings get built right up on the beachfront property that kind of takes away from the beauty of the traditional, El Salvadorian spirit that was originally there. And so I really hope that there's a fine line, with any sort of growth. There's always going to be some learning curves, and you're going to make some people happy and some people are not going to be so happy about it. And I hope El Salvador can really find a comfortable medium to really not only just bring wealth to El Salvador, but help spread that wealth so all El Salvadorian lifestyles can be elevated to a more prosperous life.
I really do hope it's a rising tide lifts all boats scenario here. And that's why we're here too. We're here to, be part of that. Be part of that vision where everyone wins over here. And so, we'll just see what the future holds, because right now it's still kind of unclear to me.
Yeah, it's up in the air.
And I think also, though, coming in as a foreigner, right, I have 2 touch points, right? So I listen to the guy at the cafe that's the local. I listen to, the other, I have 3 little visions. Like, do I really know everything? No, I probably don't, So it's just our perspective, our personal perspective. It's not, we're not deep in the trenches. So I almost wonder, I don't know if you ever had the chance to, interview people that actually grew up here and what their perspective is. I would love to listen to those,
Yeah, maybe that's something we focus on. Right now we're just, bringing on guests, that come into our circle. But I think we've done a lot of building, a lot of laying of the foundation. And I feel like this year is really about getting out there and telling more of the story of El Salvador. And so, I think that's on the horizon. So
Awesome.
I'll let you know when we do.
Yeah. Awesome.
Well, guys, any parting words here? First of all, I wish us all luck, right? I wish you guys luck, but we're working with you. So, just from the amount of work I've seen you guys do and just, the quality, I already know that this is going to be just a great, I don't know how many days, 4 days, 3 days of events.
I mean, you could call it 3 days, but it's really 2 days. So we have a very exclusive VIP dinner that takes place on Thursday night. And then Friday morning, things really kick off. And so we have the practice round for the golfers, and then the non-golfers will be able to hang out at the club and talk with Max and Stacy and a whole list of A-list Bitcoiners, and really do a lot of networking and schmoozing and having a great time, getting a tan, eating great food from Chef Rick down at the club. He's a 5-star chef who makes some amazing things, and he's really passionate about the food and opportunity to really cater to the tournament that's taking place down there. And then Friday evening, we'll be down in El Zonte at a Bitcoin meetup put on by Good Life, which is Roman Martinez, known as Chamberta.
By Good Life and Bitcoin Beach.
Yeah, by Good Life and
it's Mike
Bitcoin
as well.
Beach on Friday night. And then Saturday morning, everybody be back at the golf course bright and early at 7:30 a.m. check-in for a 9 a.m. tee time. And then that's when things really heat up. That's when we have the tournament that's going on. It's a 2-person team scramble tournament with a few Bitcoin-inspired holes sprinkled in there to kind of even the playing field, if you will. We have some PGA players playing in the tournament. We have a lot of scratch golfers playing in the tournament. A lot of people who have hardly ever played golf before in their life. So like Frieda was talking about earlier, with the inclusion of Bitcoin Sports Network and all the events that we do, we really want to make it a fun and engaging experience. Even if you don't win first, second, or third place, you still feel like you are a winner. And if you are in Bitcoin, and if you have any Bitcoin, you are already a winner. So we hope you come out to our events and just enjoy the experience of being with like-minded people and having a great time.
Yeah, the electricity is definitely in the air. So you guys are helping us with the live stream, and that is going to be able to be watched on X at BSN_events. And that's where we're live streaming some of the stage interviews that Max and Stacy will be hosting, as well as we just want to redirect people to our website, bitcoinsports.network. And so we also have some tournaments coming up in the United States, if you're interested. One going alongside BitBlock Boom, and one going alongside the Bitcoin conference in Vegas in summer.
And then in August, we have another one at the Bitcoin or Blockchain Symposium, which is the SALT conference in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And we're potentially planning a surfing event back here in El Salvador in November.
And I'm thinking
at
also
Bitcoin
skiing.
Beach could be pretty fun. And then
But that was
2026,
one of my
things
questions is when do
Skiing
we
is
see
coming.
you back here in El Salvador?
Yeah, it could be November, and then in January for the 2nd annual Max and Stacy golf tournament. That's
Wow, you guys
already
are busy off the
written on
races
booth.
already, huh?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
So,
Congrats.
if you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
And that's kind of our mantra.
Well, there was obviously a demand, right?
Yeah.
Because, wow. All right. Well,